As my ex-business partner, work colleague used to say to me, Dave, you're like a bear with a sore ass. Now that was me a few years ago when I did the odd bit of endurance running, and the Monday back at work, I'd quite often be just a little bit on the moody side, a little bit reactionary, could be a good way of putting it. And that was because I depleted so much energy that it had an effect on my neurochemicals as well. So I guess I would assume therefore serotonin was depleted, etc., etc. These were typically either half or full marathons cross country, and they took a lot out of me. These days things are different. Now I haven't, nor do I claim to have it all figured out, but there are things that I now do that have made a marked difference. And I think one of the key factors have been getting fat adapted. And you do that by turning to intermittent fasting, which I've been doing for some time now, quite some time. And it seems to really aid recovery, which when you think about it, it totally makes sense. So obviously being fat adapted just simply means that your body chooses fat for fuel rather than glucose sources. So the fat is much more efficient and it's just much better for your body physiologically. So when you think about it, it totally makes sense. And of course, this harps back onto the hunter-gatherer days, you know, the times of our primal days when we had a feast or famine existence. This is what our body's meant to do. It's what our bodies are meant to go through when it comes to consuming and using energy. So here's my thinking around it, that because I fast every day, my body is now used to a prolonged window of not eating. The great thing about that is that it is highly efficient at healing and recovery. So yesterday, I had a full-on day of hedge trimming. The day before I had the same. Monday, at the end of the day, I thought, wow, I am exhausted. So this is hedge trimming with a two-stroke engine, and it's a proper workout on your arms and shoulders when you have to do it for a prolonged period of time, i.e. 8 hours. And so by the end of the day, I thought, thank goodness, I know the next day I'm probably just going to be weeding. So this is in my part-time gardening job. But I get a message in the morning saying, Dave, are you up for more hedge trimming? And of course I say, yes, absolutely, thinking in the back of my mind, oh shit. So the day yesterday was harder than Monday. So much so, the clients of ours did pose the question, Dave, are you okay? Because I was red-faced, I was obviously drenched in sweat. There was something in the hedge that caused an allergen, so my nose was running. And to top it all off, there were a whole lot of horseflies that had been biting me all day. So my arms rather, were swollen with bites. There were blood spots on them. I mean, it was about as hard as you can get and about as horrible as you can get, if I'm honest. You know, most days when I'm doing this job, I enjoy it. Yesterday was definitely a case of plowing through it and, as David Goggins would put it, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is why I like those experiences. Not necessarily at the time, but afterwards I like those experiences. Because you know that you've endured, and to endure is always a good thing. It makes you appreciate life a lot more. So when I got back, I did consume a lot of food, and I mean a lot of food, every hour. So I got back about 5:30, and made sure that I didn't eat fructose or glucose straight away. The reason being, when you eat sugar straight away, it gets stored. It enters the cell in a different way. You want to aim for either a vegetable or a meat source. So that's exactly what I did, and pretty much every half an hour to an hour, I consumed more and more food. I had an okay sleep, pretty good. I know that I woke up a couple of times and I went to the loo and I felt like my back couldn't move. It felt like it seized. So at that point I was thinking, okay, crikey, in the morning I'm going to be feeling pretty rubbish. So in the morning though, I got up at my usual time, about 5:30. did my yoga routine, did my breath work, did my cold shower, mug of coffee, thinking to myself, okay, I don't feel as bad as I used to. So here's my thinking on all this. Intermittent fasting, I know absolutely, I've done videos on this already, it works, and it works really well at any age, in my opinion. It is great as well if you are somebody whom exercises, because when you exercise in a fasted state, you then get a whole load of human growth hormone pumped through your body, which acts on the muscles. It's perfect for that adaptation phase, gets you stronger. So what I went through yesterday was not too dissimilar to the kind of energy loss that I would have had after a significant endurance race, cross country. And normally, the day after, I'd be feeling pretty rubbish. Serotonin would be reduced significantly, but I don't feel that. I feel pretty good. You know, by all accounts, I feel good. I know that the cold shower would have helped. That helps in the recovery phase. I believe it. I know some people don't. I genuinely have always found it to be a useful activity after exercise. And believe me, when I got back home, as soon as I got out the car, straight into the garden, hose on, and I doused myself with cold water for quite some time yesterday. That really helped. I do think being fat adapted helps. It's a much more efficient fuel source. I'm not keto, nor do I think I ever will be. I think keto works for some people. I'm hearing stories that it only works for some people though for a short period of time. You know, I'll do more research on that, but I'm just not too sure it's for me. What I do is a semi-keto diet, you might call it. So I eat my carbs at the end of the day. Now, yesterday, that was slightly different. I cycled my fructose and my glucose. I cycled it, and this is actually from a comment on my YouTube channel. Somebody mentioned that by cycling it, because glucose and fructose metabolizes differently, it means you get a sort of a prolonged energy source. And so yesterday, I did turn in the afternoon to a banana, fructose, and I also had some glucose tablets. So an hour later, I would have a couple of those. And I had to go for those because there was a point yesterday afternoon where my energy was at an all-time low. You know, there was a point when I looked at the next hedge and I thought, I'm done. But of course, you then have to fight that mindset. You have to fight that psychology and say, no, crack on. You know, you've got to get this done. So there we are. You know, I know that the carbs that I've had last night will act as a good enough fuel source for this morning. You know, sometimes when I really do have a full-on day, I listen to my body, and I know now when I really do need to eat, or when it feels right to eat. And it's not when my stomach grumbles. It's not when I have those other indicators. There's something internal, you know, a message that I now adhere to, that I understand, that causes me to think, okay, yeah, now is the time to eat. If you're not fasting or not yet into it, do. Give it a go, at the very least. Don't give up in the first couple of months. Keep it up. And it's such an incredible tool. I highly recommend it if you're not doing it already, especially if you exercise, but even if you don't, it's just a much better way of existing as a human being and much more akin to what our bodies are meant to be doing. I can tell you hands down, it definitely helps with recovery, you know, and it just makes sense, doesn't it? You know, your body now is in an efficient state to pour all of its attention and focus on healing and recovery rather than trying to break down food sources or food types. Evolution of Dave signing off. Bye for now.